And welcome back, footy fans, to another episode of Donnie's Disposals. I am your host, Coach Donnie Hess, here, back with another VFL Vantage. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Victorian Football League stands up and takes center stage as we talk some great football. As this is a fun episode, ladies and gentlemen, we are reviewing rounds 5 through 7 in the men's, and we are previewing the women as the women get started this weekend. Thank you so much. Let's add another league to Coach Hess's script and schedule on what he has to pay attention to. So much fun, but that's okay. I enjoy it. So much fun. Joining me as per usual for the VFL Vantage, my VFL expert, Mr. Brendan John T. Rhodes. Brendan, it is great to see you, sir. So much fun. The women are getting started.
They are, Donny, and great to be with you again this time. And I was just saying how hard it is for me to keep across the footy that I keep across. And well, you make it look like child's play. I don't know how you'd ever get any sleep.
Well, I get plenty of sleep. It's just let's just say safe to say there's many a morning I'm sitting up at 7 a.m. going, okay, so that's the score, double checking, watching highlights, trying to double check, learning what I can. Like I said, sleep deprivation becomes my friend from March to December. So much fun. The only time I get decent sleep on the weekends is January and February, and it's winter here. So much fun. So
That's not
I
so
don't.
bad.
I know exactly, right? So I don't want to waste too much time. Let's jump right into it. Since the last time that we talked, rounds 5 through 7 of the men's have gone come. It have gone three great rounds of football. Just your thoughts really quickly on the footy that we have seen.
Just some stunning results and in really close competition in the VFL. No question about that. We had every team beaten and every team with a win by the end of round five, which was absolutely amazing. We've still got we've still got six teams within a game and a half of the lead on the ladder, and we've still got the bottom team on the ladder is only 2 games outside the top 10. And other sides like Coburg, which we'll talk about shortly, 2 wins takes them from last to 11th. Carlton, 4 wins takes them from second last to fourth. And through the period as well, Sydney, 4 wins took them from last to fourth. So that tells you how close the competition is, which is exactly what we want to see.
Yep, absolutely. So let's jump right into it. We will jump back. We will have three rounds. Like I said, rounds 5 through 7. We'll start off round 5. The Whitten Oval sees the Sydney Swans come down to Victoria and get an impressive 59-point win, 140-81. Collingwood escape a scare by Essendon, 114-103, an 11-point win by the Pies there. Kinetic Stadium as the Dolphins get a win over the Lions, 104-71. The Casey Demons get a win over Richmond, 80-53. The Werribee Tigers get a win at Williamstown, 97-72. Carlton finally give the Tassie Devils their loss with a 25-point win, 93-68. The GWS Giants get a win over North, 142-79. The Borough Port Melbourne beat Brisbane up at Brighton Homes Arena, 89-44. The Box Hill Hawks get a win over the Sandy Zebras, 103-83. And the Suns get a win over St. Kilda, 96-61. I mean, a lot of smashings in this round, but let's go to it. The closest result probably has to be this 11-point win by the Pies.
Yeah, and what a classic that one was between Collingwood and Essendon. A goal the difference at quarter time, 5 points at half time, 1 point at three-quarter time, and then with less than 3 minutes to go, it was 4 points again. But a couple of late goals to Charlie West, who's fighting to get himself back in the AFL team, made all the difference, gave Collingwood a bit of breathing space to hold on there, and they managed to get past Essendon in an amazing game of football. Essendon showing that they're not going to be easy beats, and Collingwood, well, we know they're a quality team, but we'll hear in a little bit that they can also throw in a stinker as well. But yeah, this was one of the best games of the round, no question whatsoever.
Yeah, and for
On top of a couple of upsets there.
Yeah, so classic. But I think I just looking at this, cannot wait to talk about this round six because some absolute ripping games in this round. We'll start off Box Hill at Dingley, get a win over Collingwood 109-100. Frankston go on the road at home again at Kinetic Stadium again, since Richmond is playing there due to the upgrades at Punt Road, and get a win by 12, 74-62. The Southport Sharks get a 10-point win over the Footscray Bulldogs 80-70. The Carleton Blues edge out the Saints by 5, 98-93. The Cats get a win over North Melbourne 86-73. Coburg says we're tired of this close crap. We're going to kick the crap out of Brisbane by 65, 115-50. The Williamstown Seagulls get a win over Essendon 88-75. Tassie Devils in a shootout get a win over the Sandy Zebras 126-100. The Sydney Swans get a win over the Casey Demons 94-74. Port Melbourne beat Werribee 90-64. And GWS rounds out the round with an impressive 56-point win over the Suns 134-78. Holy crap, some cracking games in this one. 9 points, 5 points, 12 points, 13 points. Too many to talk about. What were some of your best games of the round?
Well, the one I got to call on the Friday night to open the round, Box Hill's 500th game since they aligned with Hawthorn, and that was probably the game of the season so far. Just an absolute cracker from start to finish. There was momentum swings. Box Hill 20 points up, Collingwood 22 points up. Bobby Hill, the absolute live wire, fighting his way back from some personal issues, set up 3 goals in 2 minutes for the Magpies straight out of half time. But then the Hawks were able to just grind them down and kick a run of goals 4 in a row early in the last, which gave them a bit of momentum, and they were able to get away with that victory. We saw Bobby Hill kick 3 goals, set up 3 goals. Brilliant work from him. Ed Allen was great for Collingwood, but for Box Hill it was Sam Butler, who had been dropped from the AFL team. Trent Bianco was terrific in the middle, as was Henry Huswaite. And the two guys down the wings, Kai de Klaes with 3 goals and Cam Nan with 1, were basically unstoppable. And Box Hill showed once again that they are one of the teams to beat in this competition. Richmond a little bit unlucky. It was a massive effort against Frankston. Only 3 AFL listed players they were able to field due to all the injuries there at Tigerland. Many people will quite correctly say that's 3 more AFL listed players than Frankston had as a standalone club. But Richmond led right through until there was 3 minutes left in the last quarter. Start to finish, they kicked the first 4 goals of the game, and it took until basically the last 3 minutes for Frankston to run them down with 3 goals right at the end. A little bit of revenge for Southport in the grand final rematch. They lost the grand final by 10 points to Footscray. They won the replay by 10 points over Footscray. So absolutely nothing between those two teams. Carlton and St Kilda was a cracking contest, as well as the Blues just keep on winning. And they had some amazing performances as well. George Hewitt, another 31 possessions and 2 goals that finally said, well, you've got to get me back in the AFL team. It's one of the most unbelievable things going around in the that he was playing VFL over for a month, really.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately for St Kilda, Max King was making his second game back from his long-term injury, having not played footy for basically 2 years. Tore a hamstring after five disposals and 2 goals, so he's out for another 6 weeks. So
Mm-hmm.
devastating news for him. And the Coburg result, well, we've got another one to come up to talk about, but at this stage, that was their biggest win, their most amazing result since they beat the Brisbane Lions in Queensland in 2021. So we'll talk about them a little bit more in a moment. But to beat the Lions by 64 points just really shows, as the bottom side, remember, they were the bottom side on the ladder at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
Again, proves the brilliance of this competition. Essendon led Williamstown all the way, only got run down in the last quarter. And, well, Sydney, after beating Footscray for the 3rd time in a row at Footscray, which I don't think anyone does, they then beat Casey for the first time ever. They were 0-5 against Casey in their history. They won that game a lot easier than 17 points indicates. They were 49 up at one stage, very similar to the AFL game on that same round. And Gold Coast, who I had in the top four, remains mired on the bottom of the ladder with no sign of getting off right now.
Unfortunately, and that's actually something we will discuss just a little bit later in the burning questions. Let's jump to it. The last round that has played since we hopped on since the last time that we talked is round 7, which was last week. Start off as the Carlton Blues with an impressive win to start off the round, 157-35 over the Casey Demons. Coburg says, "Hold my beer. Let's beat another Queensland side, also in Queensland, with a 112-69 win over Southport. Geelong get a 61 point win over Collingwood, 116-55. Can't wait to talk about this one at Avalon Airport as Werribee and Tassie play to a 97-97 draw. North Melbourne survive a scare by Sydney and get a 12-point win, 75-63. The Williamstown Seagulls get a win over Richmond, 107-70. Essendon get a win over the Giants by 51, 114-63. And St. Kilda beat the Zebras 85-70 to round out the round. I mean, a draw is always interesting. Again, some people it's anticlimactic. I love a draw because it shows that neither team was good enough to win on the day. So split the points and go home. And a little bit anticlimactic, but the Tassie Devils already first season in the competition, and we've got our first draw.
We have, and I was on air elsewhere, unfortunately, at that stage, so I didn't get to see any of it, and haven't had a chance to watch any of the replays. But even Werribee described this one as one of the best matches you will ever see, even though they basically gave it away right at the end. Tasmania jumped out of the blocks. They kicked 6 goals to 4 in the first quarter. And looked like it was going to be another big win on the road for the Devils. And then Werribee took control. They kicked right back into the contest. 5 goals to 1 in the second quarter gave them a handy lead at half time. They still led by 9 points at three-quarter time. And in fact, they were 13 points up at the 20-minute mark of the last quarter, heading into time on, 15 points up, rather, heading into time on of the last quarter. But then Tasmania woke up again. Remember, this is away from home well, Werribee's home ground record is pretty poor at the moment, but it's still considered to be a fortress for them. Caleb Mitchell in his 50th game, the former Swan, kicked a goal. Jackson Artemis made it 2 points the difference, and he's one of the biggest chances to go in the mid-season draft at the end of this month. And then with 2 chances to win the game, unfortunately for the Devils, the experienced Sam Siggins was unable to kick a goal on either occasion, a couple of behinds, and we end up locked away when the siren sounded. And they had 211 kicks each too. So just an amazing game. There was nothing between the inside 50s. The hitouts and clearances, though, were dominated by Werribee. So it was Tasmania's half back line across the back of the centre square that made all the difference. So how's this? 52 clearances to 18 for Werribee, 53 inside 50s to 21 for Tasmania. So that tells me that between that area between the 50-metre line and the centre square at the back end for Tasmania was basically impassable for most parts of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, a fitting result, I think, as both teams probably feel they should have won, and both teams probably feel they could have lost.
Yeah, and just looking at those statistics, it's one of those where it's like if you're Tassie with the majority of the inside 50, you're almost mad that you got the draw. Werribee, you're almost happy you got the draw because you weren't as effective going inside 50. But it's fascinating. It's fascinating to those statistics. That's absolutely insane. So that is it for the games that have played. I cannot wait for this. Go
Oh,
ahead.
you do, Donny. Sorry, we do have to touch on these couple of other ones.
Sure.
Carlton against Casey. Casey went into that game as favourites with me. I tipped Casey to win, and not only did they not win, but
That aged
Carlton had
like
their
milk in the like
uh,
sun, like milk in the sun.
uh,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
122 points.
Yep.
That was Carlton's second biggest win in their history, in their 499th game in the competition. Their second biggest score in their history, the biggest away from home in both those counts. And yeah, just I was watching that unfold as I was getting ready for the game I did on Saturday, and well, I just could not believe it. While also looking at the score of the other one, which was Coburg and Southport, I said the win over Brisbane the week before was their biggest win in 5 years. Scrap that, throw it in the bin. To go to Queensland to play a team that they had never beaten before, who are, even though not going absolutely brilliantly at the moment, are still my premiership pick, and to beat them by 43 points and lead by even more, 8-2 in the first quarter, with Jaden Stevenson, the former AFL Rising Star, kicking 3 of those goals, and then to hold firm when Southport came at them. They cut the margin with 2-0 in the second quarter, and they kicked away again, 4-2 in the third and 5-3 in the last. So set it up, challenged, went away again. They're now on the edge of the top 10 where I expected them to be. And look out, Coburg. They're on the march. They've got to bye this week, but their confidence is up and flying again. The other one really that has to be looked at is Sandringham versus St Kilda, the first match since their divorce at the end of last year. And it's fair to say, based on how that game went on the field, I called this one, it was a very acrimonious divorce, because there were spot fires and blues, and it was on basically for young and old all day. 3 St Kilda players wound up reported out of the contest. 2 of them are suspended, one for a heavy bump and one for throwing a couple of punches. Alex Taru, the Flying Viking, as he's known, one of the big hopes for St Kilda's future. Right on the final siren, game's won, no point, in a wrestle, whack, whack. And you just don't see it anymore. There was nothing fierce behind them, but he threw them. He threw them right in front of the umpire. He threw them right in front of the camera, and he's got a couple of weeks to think about it.
Ah, what a flog. What a flog. No, I'm just kidding. It's flog-like behavior. Again, I understand it. There's a little bit of animosity there, but come on, pull your head in. Come on. But he's
Yeah,
a young
well, it
player.
was
He'll learn. He'll
pointless.
learn.
Oh yeah,
He'll
he
learn
won't.
from
I don't think he'll do that again. I don't think he'll do that again. It was a very spiteful game, and
Yep.
I have no doubt that the words of some of the Sandringham players, without absolving them and without knowing exactly what was said, St Kilda guys probably fell for the bait a little bit,
Mhm.
and yeah, there's I think at that stage of the game it was take the cup and get out of Dodge, the
Yep.
Trevor Barker Cup, which is named after an all-time great of both clubs. And yeah, so it was a bit disappointing from Alex, but as I said, and as you said, he'll learn from that, and you don't think he'll see that again. It's probably going to cost him another month at least to 6 weeks before he can get back into the senior team. So he's got a fair bit of time to sitting on the sidelines, and then to have a rest and then back in the VFL to think about it.
Yep, definitely for sure. So let's move on to the burning questions. I only have one, and we kind of brought it up a little bit during that review, and that is all 3 Queensland teams as we speak. Again, still early in the season, a lot of footy still left to be played, but as we speak, all 3 Queensland teams are currently not in final spots. So I'll ask you, Brendan, which one is the most surprising? I think I already know the answer because you kind of brought it up during our review, but it's a little surprising that all 3 Queensland teams currently are 13th, 21st, and 22nd on the ladder.
Well, most surprising actually stands as all of them. I had Southport winning the premiership. They're sitting 13th at 3-3. They've lost a couple of games that you wouldn't have expected them to lose. That one at home to Coburg, very disappointing on their part. But the other 2, the Brisbane Lions and the Gold Coast Suns, when you follow the AFL, you'll see that both their AFL teams are going very well. Yes, there are a few injuries at Brisbane, so the depth is a little bit thin at the moment. They've
Hmm.
had a couple of horrible home losses. Um, a bit down on troops, but Brighton Homes Arena, Michael Voss Oval, is a ground where I think they go at around about 85% as a rule. So for them to be sitting at 1-4, having lost 2 games there, might be even 3 games there. They might have lost to Southport there as well. They did. So 3 of their 4 losses have been on their home fortress. That is a real worry for them. And the Gold Coast Suns, 1-4 and 78% without a lot of injury issues is a major worry for them. Again, I had them in the top 4. They managed to talk 2 of their club greats into staying in the VFL squad at the end of their season, at the end of their careers, their AFL careers last year, being David Swallow and Alex Sexton. Neither of them are making an impact at the moment. Whether that is by design or not, I'm not sure because I haven't seen a Suns game, but I expected a lot more from the Gold Coast Suns, and they really need to find their mojo very, very quickly, starting with Frankston this week. As for the Southport Sharks, well, as we mentioned, they do have the 3 wins, so they can turn that around very quickly.
Yep. And still, like I said, a lot of time still left to play, but rather stark. It was rather stark looking at the ladder, going, "Whoa! All 3 Queensland teams are nowhere near not near the final spots." It was. I'm so used to them being in the top, like 3 of the top 10. So having them 2 at the bottom of the ladder and then one mid table, it was a little bit different. So we are going to jump off the men and jump over to the women because the women get started this week. I'm super excited. Like I said, I add one more competition to the list of things that I have to pay attention to. But you want to know what? I'm excited about this. Plus the other reason I cannot wait for this is because Tassie now joined the women's competition. They were such the talk of our preview for the men. Let's see if they're as much of our talk in the preview for the women. So we'll jump in. We'll jump in here, Brendan. What story for the season are you looking forward to the most in the W competition this year? So the fun sometimes about transatlantic internet is sometimes shit fucks up. So let's hop right back into it. The women's season is started, and as per usual, you know I like asking about the story of the season. Now, Tassie was the story of the men's season, so I got to ask: is Tassie the story of the women's season for you this year?
Less likely, I think, with no disrespect to Tasmania, because they have recruited reasonably well, but it's a real unknown at VFLW level. They've got a pretty handy squad. There's 228 games of VFLW experience and 29 games of Samful W experience in their squad. They do have a couple of really senior players in there. Jessie Williams is a premiership player at Port Melbourne and a runner-up in the league goal kicking there. She's played 62 games at VFLW level. Then you go up to the next level. Georgia Nicholas is a premiership player at North Melbourne, North Melbourne Werribee last year. Sarah Skinner has played AFLW football with the Sydney Swans. Gabby Featherston is fresh off the AFLW list at Geelong. So there is plenty of ability there. There's one, two. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 players on the list with state league experience or higher. So that tells me that they're going to be okay. We will find out obviously a lot more once they get on the park. Whereas we knew more about the men's players, with all due respect to the W team, they're a little bit more of an unknown, and as a result, it won't surprise us if they go very, very well. Won't surprise us if they go the other way and take a little bit of time to find their feet.
Yep, very true, very true. So let's hop into it. You know the usual questions that I have when it comes to a season preview. We'll start with the negative and get it out of the way. Again, Tassie will put to the side for just the tiniest bit. Who do you think from last year's VFLW season do you think could be the biggest faller down the ladder?
Um, hard to really hard to really tell. I think there's a couple of teams that seem to have lost throughout the off season. I think for me, based on the quality of players that have gone out the door, is the Darebin Falcons.
Mhm.
So they're a real worry and a watch for me. I hope I'm wrong. They do have some. They do have brought a little bit of quality in. The star defender from Collingwood, Casey Lennox, has come across to Darebin. Marnie Jarvis, another Collingwood player, is across, and Lulu Beattie, who was picked up early in last season as an injury replacement by Carlton. She's back at Darebin. So they are the best of the inclusions. 140 games worth of VFLW experience among those three players. But on the way out, fullback Victoria Blackwood, 63 games. Vice captain Riley Chris Gergel, 67 games. Uh, Club stalwart Paige Carney, 64 games. One of the best rucks in the league over its journey, Sarah King, 77 games. She wasn't at her best last year, but she was close to playing in North Melbourne's first premiership 2 years ago. Natalie McDonald, 51 games, Essendon premiership player in 2022. Talented youngsters Emily Raymond and Olivia Storer are gone. The biggest one is the best player in the competition, the Lambert Pierce medal, Gogos, who after she won the Lambert and at the age of almost 13 as well. So they've lost 457 games of experience that they can really overcome. Hopefully, the youngsters that they've brought in from the Northern League and the Essendon League around can step up to the level very quickly. But unfortunately, there's a watch on the Falcons.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the one thing about the unattached club. Sometimes it can cause you a few issues. So we'll go to the positive now. We've got the negative out of the way. Biggest positive, biggest riser. Who do you think is a team that you think might rise up the ladder this season?
I'm looking at the. I'm looking at a club like potentially the Casey Demons, who I had listed as, I think, the riser in the VFL, and they've been bitterly disappointing as well. So, so I could be way off the mark with this one. I'll just bring up last year's ladder to try and they've brought in 145 games of experience. They've lost 302, but I think some of the players they've brought in are pretty handy. If I scroll back up to there, and hopefully we do stay connected.
Yep.
Tricia Cowan's come across after missing Bosun, who's a former Collingwood star back at Eastern Devils. Sarah Hosking has come from North Melbourne as well, so a little bit of quality there. What's in the departures though? Sophie Casey, Lauren Jatsak, the ruck, sorry, Joe Lynn, Tegan Williams. So just having a second look at that, I'm probably wrong with that one, and they might find it a little bit tough as well with the outs being. Essendon has brought in Nicole Hales, a 100-game player, a journey woman. She just missed out on North Melbourne's premiership last year, but played in the one the year before. So that could be a spark for them down in defence. Carlton's brought in a couple of VFLW players from other clubs. Zoe Larkins, Nell Morris Dalton off the Collingwood AFLW list and injury, and Danica Spammer from Box Hill. So keep a bit of an eye out for them. Box Hill is always good. Their star from the first half of last season, Caitlin Thorne, is back from her half-season stint as an injury replacement player at Geelong. They'll be well and truly around the mark again after finishing third last year. Port Melbourne has brought in the star forward, Courtney Jones from Collingwood, and the ruck, also from Collingwood in Mackenzie Bourne. So they missed the finals last year. So keep a watch on them.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely to climb back into the Sophie Casey and Joe Lynn out of the Demons team. That's where they've turned up at Sandringham, as with Christy Stratton, a long-time stalwart of Hawthorn and Box Hill,
Mm-hmm.
has gone in there. So I have Sandringham after finishing fourth as a real chance. And the Western Bulldogs have recruited well also under their new coach, Liam Kavanagh, who coached Williamstown last year. He's lured 3 of his former Seagull girls across with him, India Barker, Kira Lee, and the centre half forward in Jemima Wrigley. And as for the Seagulls, some very, very big ins and outs. They've got, apart from the one team I haven't mentioned yet, probably the biggest turnover, 280 games of experience coming in. Four clubs got more going out than in. Dahlia Edward is back on a VFLW list, North Melbourne VFLW a few years ago. Naomi Ferris, a former AFLW player.
Mm-hmm.
Megan Fogus. Lilu Hung off AFLW list. Bella Smith off an AFLW list. And the Box Hill captain, Ellie McClendon, is now at Williamstown. They have lost some experience like Izzy Curry and Jemima Wrigley. I mentioned Ash Thornycroft is a veteran now, but what a star she's been. She's retired as well. But Williamstown, after sliding from top to 5th last year, I think they'll be on the rise again.
Fantastic. Some great info that you've got there for me. So let's jump to it. We'll break it down. I know this is, again, we're grabbing the magic ball here. Who on the final day of the season will be matched up to fight for the flag? Who are our grand final opponents, in your opinion?
Well, to put it simply, the team that has won the past 2 premierships, they look significantly stronger than last year.
Scary to think,
Yes,
huh?
that they have amazingly, and that is having amazingly shed 778 games of experience from their squad from last year. The games record holder, Mia Ray Clifford, has retired after 136 games. Not all of these are premiership players, but they are at North Melbourne last year, but most of them are premiership players either on the past 2 seasons or at other clubs. Courtney Ugle, 1 game short of 100. Nicole Hales, 101 games. She went to Essendon. Ugle and Clifford, I believe, are retired. Tricia Cowan, Zara Flanagan, Sarah Hosking, I've mentioned all of them already. Amanda Ling retired. Mara McSweeney, Georgia Nicholas has gone to Tasmania. Taylor Ortlip, Kate Reynolds, the ruck, has retired, the veteran ruck. I think she's retired. Brooke Slaney, Reese Sutton, Aisling Tupper, Marguerite Purcell, all very, very good players late in the season too. So you look at that and you think, oh, well, North Melbourne, Werribee gettable? Then you go to the other side of the page. How about this for some ins? Gabby Collingwood, the key
Mhm.
forward from Box Hill, 37 games. Molly Eastman, former AFLW
LW.
Swan and Tiger, returns to North Melbourne after 68 VFL games. The live wire co-king, Abby Favell, also comes up from Geelong. Elise Gamble comes over from Essendon VFLW. I'm pretty sure she played AFLW as well and is
Yep.
certainly a premiership player at the Bombers.
Yep, she was.
Emily Hurley, a very good player at Carlton. Lauren Jatsak, the ruck from the Casey Demons, the star ruck from the Casey Demons, comes in to replace Kate Reynolds. And the piece de resistance, that's about the only French I know, Avis Seaton, dual defending best and fairest winner at Port Melbourne. Jewel Best and Fairest, defending winner at Port Melbourne, is now at North, and she's just going to go in there and tear the competition up in a better side. So any team that beats North Melbourne Werribee will have me sitting here looking at you and saying, how the hell did that happen? Unfortunately.
You want to shake their hand.
As for teams, yeah, as for teams that can make the grand final with them, well, it as I just mentioned earlier, it's completely wide open. It could be any one of 6 or 7. I'm going to, if you really need me to stick my neck out, it's the stability of Box Hill for me.
I was
Very,
thinking the
very
same
little
thing. Yep.
change over to their list. They've only brought in 13 players with only 26 games of experience, so a lot of youngsters. On the out, it's 288, but that's the 4th lowest number compared to only more than Port Melbourne, Carlton, and Essendon. So it's Box Hill, it's Williamstown, it's Collingwood. Sandy could go all right. Western Bulldogs could go all right. I think the 3 or 4 that were way off the back last year probably can't get up to grand final stage, but things could easily change in the transient nature of this competition because players come in and go out all the time.
Yep. Nope. 100%. So I take it by your just the previewing of the grand final that North Melbourne Werribee is probably your pick for Premier.
Very hard to see them losing. Unfortunately for the competition, um, very fortunately for them, of course, but you back-to-back VFLW, and yeah, I'd say they're well and truly on track for a three-peat in both competitions.
Wouldn't be surprised. So, and then I know this isn't easy, but just somebody that may you think could be a potential best and fairest for the competition this year.
You're really challenging me.
Sorry about that.
No, I'm going to go. I'm going to go with the one I just mentioned, Ava.
Yep.
Ava Seaton's the one for me. She was already, as I said, back-to-back best and fairest winners for Port Melbourne, and now obviously she will have players taking votes off her.
Yep.
But the Queenslander is such an absolute gun that with stars around her, it's going to be really hard to stop her because opposition clubs where they could put their attention into her when they were playing against Port Melbourne, they've got to put their attention into about 15 of them at the Kangaroos.
Mm-hmm.
So I expect a very, very big season from Ava Seaton down there at the Roos.
All right. So I don't want to take up any more of Brendan's time. So we're going to kind of do this rapidly. Okay. So we're going to do the tips for round 1 for the women and round 5 for the men. So I know this isn't easy, but let's just give a one-word answer to pick our tips because it's getting, I want to make sure that Brendan gets to his work on time, and the internet sometimes
Too
can be
late.
fun. So let's do this really quickly. We'll start off Friday night. Darabin Falcons, Carlton Blues. Who do you like?
Carlton to win for me, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong based on what I said about Darabin before, but I think the Blues might be too good.
Same thing. Tipping Carlton, but think Darabin. Hopefully Darabin gives them a mighty crack. Port Melbourne, North Melbourne, Werribee. Ruse for you, I take it.
Definitely, but we'll see first up what Port Melbourne has got and facing their old star in round 1.
Yep, Ruse for me. I hope, like I said, hope Port Melbourne gives them a crack. Sandy Zebras versus Essendon at Travis Barker Beach Oval.
Very interesting one, this. I'm going for Sandringham at home, though.
Give me the Zebras on that. I'll go with you on this one. Deakin University down in Geelong as the Cats host the Seagulls of Williamstown.
I think Willie goes down there and gets the job done. They're looking okay even with those couple of losses. So Willie for me.
Yeah, I was gonna go the same. Tassie Oval, North Hobart Oval. Can't wait. Hopefully they selling out. Tassie Devils first game. Casey Demons. Who do you like?
Tassie at home. Obviously, they're a great unknown, but they'll have the same momentum and the same groundswell of support behind them that the men did 6 weeks ago. So Tassie for me.
I agree. Same thing. Tassie at home. I think it'll be a rocking atmosphere. Cannot wait for that one. And to round out the round, Box Hill Oval, Box Hill Hawks versus the Collingwood Magpies. Who do you like in this one?
Uh, Clearly the match of the round, a really tough one to call. No guarantee it's still going to be at Box Hill because they're finalising the resurfacing of that ground as well. And there has been games in the men's moved away from there. I'm going to go for Box Hill. But if it does get moved away from the City Oval, I'll tilt back the other way to the Magpies.
Gonna tip the Hawks for me, but should be a classic one to round out the round. Let's jump to the men round eight. Fascinating one. Let's start off the Brisbane Lions go down to Geelong to host. Never mind. At home at Brighton Homes Arena. Hopefully they can get it figured out. We should say visiting because right now they aren't playing well at home. Brisbane versus Geelong, Brighton Homes Arena. Who do you like?
I never thought I'd pick against the Brisbane Lions at home, but they're second last on the ladder. They're playing the absolutely flying top side. So you've got to tip Geelong on current form while also saying, well, I won't be surprised if the Lions wake up and find a way to win, but it's got to be Geelong.
Yep. Cats for I think the cats for me, but should be an interesting one. Hopefully the Lions wake up. Tramway Oval in Sydney sees the Sydney Swans take on the Collingwood Magpies here. Fascinating one for me. Hopefully should be a fun one. Who do you like in this one? Swans, pies.
I think with Collingwood losing a couple out of their AFL team, resting Scott Pendlebury ahead of his record next week, Darcy Moore was concussed. Swans could potentially have three guys coming back in to their AFL team. So without underestimating Collingwood, you would think that Sydney would start favourites this game at home.
Yep, I was going to say the same thing. A few losses up, and potentially with Curnow and Sarong potentially coming back into the Swan side, some coming back down. So VFL. So I'm going to tip the Swans on this one. Fun one. Box Hill Hawks take on Richmond at Box Hill Oval. I'm going to tip the Hawks on this one. But again, Richmond's pesky this year.
They're always pesky, Richmond. There's no question. You can never underestimate them. But on this occasion, return to Box Hill City Oval if it happens. But regardless, wherever it's played, Box Hill wins this.
Yep, yep. People's First Stadium, a fun one. And you'd have told me at the start of the year that Gold Coast was 22nd on the ladder at this time. I'd have told you you're crazy. Suns, Dolphins. Fascinating one up at the Gold Coast. I'm going to tip the Dolphins in this one. I'm not liking the Suns mojo, so I'm going to tip the Dolphins in this one.
Fascinating, definitely. And basically everything I said about the Lions and Geelong fits again here. Gold Coast have got to wake up at home on a ground they hardly ever lose at. Seeing Frankston should fire them up after that famous 2024 wildcard final. Um, Frankston are going okay without really being on fire at the moment. Um, yeah, I'm going to go. I'm going to lean towards the Suns. I think I'm going to give them one more chance to turn it around up there and get their season going.
Be fascinating one. Also at North Hobart Oval, we see Tassie versus Southport. I think this should be a cracking. This could be game of the round for me. Give me the Devils, home cooking, but Southport always tough.
Not a doubt in my mind whatsoever that this is the match of the round. Southport on the rebound after an absolute shocker at home last week. They'll be going down there fierce and ready to go. Can they handle the groundswell of momentum that Tassie's got behind them down there? No one has been able to do it yet. Apart from Carlton, the only team that's been able to do it has been the AFL listed opponent. So they're going well against the standalones. They've lost to the only AFL club that they've played. Um, I think Tassie. I think Tassie again. In an absolute thriller. Southport will respond to last week, but they might not have enough to get over the line here.
Yeah, this will be a fun one. 8:05 my time. Might actually sit down, grab the popcorn, and watch that one. That could be a cracker. Icon Park sees Carlton versus the Footscray Bulldogs. Who do you like in this one?
Carlton on fire at the moment. 4 wins in a row. Footscray coming off a couple of defeats and a bye. They're going to have to turn it around soon. The Bulldogs, they're too good. They're starting to get a couple of troops back, but it's hard to go past Carlton in the form they're in right now.
Yep, I'm with you on that one. Tipping Carlton should be a good game with them and the Bullies on that one. St. Kilda RSEA Park as the Saints host the Casey Demons in this one. Gonna tip the Saints in this one, but again, Casey right there. Neither team playing great football right now.
My broadcast game for this weekend on Saturday, the Saints and the Demons. You can't pick Casey on the back of a 20-goal loss, but you also know that there's going to be a response. Um, so can I? Um, yeah, aren't going that. Oh, well, had a hard fought win over Sandringham, but lose a couple of troops. Yeah, you've got to tip St Kilda, but it would not surprise me at all for Casey to respond here.
Yep, definitely for sure. Let's ETU Stadium as Port Melbourne take on North Melbourne. Fascinating one on this one. Who do you like in this one?
The Borough are in form at the moment. Big
They
win
are.
up in Brisbane, a terrific win over Werribee a couple of weeks ago. They come off the bye. North did well against an undermanned Sydney last week. They did what they had to do. Um, I think Port Melbourne's going well enough to make it 3 in a row.
Yep. I'm gonna go with you on that one. I like give me the Borough, but I think that should be a really good one. And to round out the round at Trevor Barker Beach Oval as we see the Zebras take on GWS. Who do you like in this one?
I lost you there.
Okay, so the fun of the internet happens again. So again, Sandy, GWS, who do you like?
Giants were absolutely terrible last week against Essendon. I know they had a lot of players out, a lot of injuries, but that was a match that they should not have lost. They bounced back and beat Sandringham.
Okay. We are not going to waste the time nor our luck anymore. Again, fantastic. Cannot wait to talk more VFL football again. It's been always so much fun. Brendan, again, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast as we fight through internet issues, but we got through this show. Thank you.
Thanks, Donnie. Thanks again, everyone. And I love your patience and to put up with the absolute crap technology down here in Australia.
Well, it's always you got to be patient when it comes to it. It always happens. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this episode of Donnie's Disposals. Again, if you like what we're doing, please like and subscribe, and again, keep track. More footy coverage very, very soon.